Especially when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there's this expectation of, I don't know, clinical precision, like structural engineering almost.
Right, it's very measurable.
Exactly. You break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged white line on the screen, and the doctor just points and says, there it is, that's the problem.
And here's the exact cast we need to fix it. Yeah, it's entirely binary. The bone is broken or it is not.
Right. The comfort lies in the visibility of the problem and the predictability of the solution. We are naturally drawn to things that can be categorized and neatly boxed up like that.
Well, for sure. Human nature.
But then you step into the world of starting a business. You decide it's time for you, the listener, to leave that traditional 9 to 5. You walk into that arena and suddenly you realize the x-ray machine is completely shattered.
Yeah, all that comforting structure is just gone.
It really is. You're swapping the visible structure of a steady paycheck where your tasks are basically handed to you for a world where the diagnosis of what makes a good idea feels utterly subjective.
And it is dangerous. Relying on gut feelings when your livelihood is on the line is, frankly, a recipe for disaster.
Which is exactly why today we are extracting the ultimate playbook for escaping that 9 to 5. And we're relying not on intuition, but on cold, hard viability metrics.
We are synthesizing an incredibly rich stack of analysis today to do exactly that for you.
We really have a goldmine of sources today.
We do. We're pulling apart a comprehensive strategic guide detailing 40 of the most viable small business ideas, cross-referencing that with a rigorous breakdown of ultra-low-cost ventures, and ultimately filtering everything through an entrepreneur's blueprint.
Right, and that blueprint gives us the exact criteria for evaluating business viability. Plus, we're taking a hard look at how artificial intelligence is fundamentally rewriting the rules of solo operations.
Yeah, the AI component changes everything.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we even touch specific business ideas, before we get into the weeds of dropshipping or commercial landscaping or high-level consulting, we need a reliable instrument to measure them.
Right, you can't just pick ideas out of a hat.
Exactly. We can't just throw darts at a board and hope we hit a profitable venture. The documentation provides a fascinating 1 to 10 methodology scale to evaluate business viability. It's the essential why before we ever get to the what.
It really is the bedrock of the entire entrepreneurial exercise. The framework is uncompromising, You must evaluate potential ventures through a robust, objective lens.
So this 10-point scale basically forces an entrepreneur to remove their ego from the equation.
100%.
Yeah.
A rating of 10 represents the absolute highest level of importance for the baseline survival of the idea, cascading down to factors that are helpful but not strictly existential.
Right. And sitting right there at the apex, the undisputed heavyweight champion of this viability scale is market demand. A perfect 10 out of 10.
It is the pinnacle because it dictates the physics of commerce. A business at its core is merely a mechanism designed to fill a gap in the market.
Without demand, literally nothing else matters.
Nothing. It must cater to an identifiable, urgent need within a specific customer base. If that demand does not exist, you're dead in the water.
You could have the best product in the world.
Yeah, you can engineer the most aesthetically beautiful product. You can back it with millions of dollars in venture capital marketing. But if the market does not inherently want or need it, the business will suffocate.
And the analysis emphasizes that this demand must be sustainable, right? Not just a flash in the pan.
Exactly. A fleeting fad will not secure the recurrent sales necessary to keep the lights on year after year.
Okay, so right behind market demand, coming in at a 9 out of 10, is profit potential. And intrinsically linked to that, sitting at an 8 out of 10, is startup costs.
The financials.
Yeah. So immediately after establishing that people want the thing, we are aggressively scrutinizing the financial health of delivering the thing.
The unit economics have to make sense from day one. Profit potential of the 9 out of 10 isn't just about dreaming of massive revenues. It is a clinical analysis of your margins.
Like, how much does it actually cost to get a customer to buy?
Right. What is a true cost to acquire a customer? What is the cost of your labor, your raw materials, your software subscriptions?
Because if your cost to produce and deliver the service leaves you operating at a loss,
Or even hovering dangerously close to the break-even point.
yeah, your business is a ticking clock at that point.
Profit is the oxygen that allows for expansion and survival during inevitable downturns, which leads directly into the 8 out of 10 metric startup costs.
Keeping those initial investments financially feasible.
Exactly. The most viable ventures for a new entrepreneur are those that aggressively minimize initial capital outlay. High overhead before you've proven your revenue model is, frankly, how people lose their life savings.
Wow. Okay, then the scale drops down to a tie for a 7 out of 10. That's skills and knowledge requirements matched equally with competition.
This is where the framework gets highly personal. We're moving from macroeconomics to the micro capabilities of the founder.
This is where we analyze the moat around the business,
Oh,
right?
yes. A 7 out of 10 for skills and knowledge means that aligning a new venture with your existing, highly developed skill set drastically reduces the learning curve.
Because if you spend the first 2 years of your business just trying to learn the basic mechanics of your industry,
Competitors who already possess that fluency will absolutely crush you. You must leverage inherent strengths.
and that ties directly into understanding competition, which is also a 7.
You have to map the competitive landscape to find your unique selling proposition. What is the specific friction point that existing companies are ignoring?
And how do your unique skills allow you to exploit it? That makes sense. Below that, sitting at a 6 out of 10, we have scalability and adaptability.
Right. So scalability is the mechanical ability of the business to expand its reach, handle more volume, or acquire more customers without a proportional increase in operational friction.
Basically growing without losing quality.
Exactly. And adaptability is the organizational reflexes. How quickly can you pivot when a new technology emerges or consumer tastes shift?
They seem super important, though. Why are they only a 6?
They are critical for the decade-long survival of a company, but they are secondary problems. You only need to worry about scaling if you have successfully generated demand and profit first.
Ah, good point. Rounding out the bottom of the scale, we find regulatory and legal considerations at a 5 out of 10, the impact of technology and trends also at a 5 out of 10.
And then sitting completely alone at the very bottom, work-life balance at a mere 4 out of 10.
Right, so the lower half of the scale represents management rather than creation. Legal structures protect what you build, and tech awareness keeps you efficient, but they don't single-handedly generate revenue.
That's a pretty way to summarize it.
Looking at this 1 to 10 scale, it acts exactly like a ruthless checklist for dating.
Oh, that's an interesting analogy.
Think about it. Evaluating a business idea requires the same clinical detachment before you commit your time and resources. If you just follow your passion for a business idea,
Which is like liking someone's outfit across the room.
yes, but you completely ignore market demand, which is whether you actually get along, share values, and want the same things in life. That relationship is doomed.
You cannot build a long-term marriage solely on being infatuated with the idea of a person.
Exactly. And you cannot build a business solely on your passion for an idea if the market actively rejects it.
What's fascinating here is how the data uncovers a massive psychological contradiction right there at the bottom of the scale. Work-life balance is rated the absolute lowest for business viability
Why does that contradiction matter so much?
because of the profound irony of why people become entrepreneurs in the first place. The research points out that one of the primary drivers for leaving the corporate world is to gain autonomy.
Right, to be your own boss, to dictate your own schedule, to attend your kid's soccer game on a Tuesday afternoon.
People want work-life balance, yet the methodology objectively dictates that prioritizing your personal work-life balance during the foundational phase of a business is actively detrimental to its survival.
Ouch. So the market does not care that you want a 4-day work week.
The market doesn't care at all. The demand requires servicing, the profit margins require agonizing optimization, and the competition is working on the weekends. If you optimize for your own comfort too early, the business will simply fail.
That is a brutal reality check. You start the venture to buy your freedom, but the venture itself demands absolute servitude during its infancy.
It's the ultimate paradox.
Okay, holding that 10-point scale in our minds, let's pivot to the actual blueprints. Since keeping startup costs low is an 8 out of 10 on the importance scale, it logically follows that we should start by exploring ventures with the absolute lowest barriers to entry.
The ultra-low-cost digital frontier.
The fabled laptop lifestyle.
Financially speaking, the barrier to entry in this sector is as close to zero as you can mathematically get. These are ventures where the primary capital required is human cognitive effort, a stable internet connection, and a computer.
The documentation explicitly categorizes service-based digital roles, things like freelance copywriting and digital marketing, as the apex of low-cost startups. But how is the landscape evolving for a copywriter today?
Well, the underlying mechanism of the internet is text and search. Therefore, the demand for compelling algorithm-friendly writing is inexhaustible.
Because companies are in a perpetual arms race for attention?
Exactly. They need blog architectures, persuasive website landing pages, press releases, and constantly updated social media narratives. However, the true value multiplier is search engine optimization, or SEO.
Right, a writer who just writes is a commodity.
A writer who understands how to craft content around the specific, high-intent search queries of a target demographic becomes an irreplaceable growth engine for a brand.
And digital marketing expands on that by managing the entire ecosystem. It's creating the social media strategies, managing the email marketing funnels, purchasing media ads, and fiercely guarding the brand's online reputation.
A business will almost always prefer to hire a specialized freelance digital marketer rather than take on the payroll tax, benefits, and overhead of a full-time employee.
It's an arbitrage of expertise. Now, alongside marketing, the framework highlights virtual assistants, and this isn't just answering phones anymore.
Not at all. Modern VAs offer complex administrative, technical, and creative problem solving. They manage intricate scheduling software, handle vital client correspondence, and often drive business development outreach.
They kind of become the digital central nervous system for other busy entrepreneurs.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm looking at transcription and translation on this list, and I have to admit I'm highly skeptical.
Why is that?
With artificial intelligence getting so incredibly adept at voice-to-text and live translation, isn't telling someone to start a transcription business with just a laptop and earphones essentially setting them up to compete in a losing battle against free software? I mean, how does the human actually win there?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're absolutely right that generic transcription is being commoditized by AI.
Yeah, it's everywhere now.
But where the human wins, and where the high profit margins exist, is in extreme specialization and nuance. AI still struggles immensely with heavy regional accents, multiple overlapping speakers in a chaotic environment, or highly technical jargon.
Oh, like legal depositions?
Exactly. A legal transcriptionist handling a complex multi-party deposition, or a medical transcriptionist interpreting nuanced dictations, provides a level of guaranteed accuracy and confidentiality that an automated software cannot legally or functionally match right now.
Okay, that makes sense. And the same applies to translation.
Yes, you don't translate restaurant menus, you translate high-stakes financial compliance documents or nuanced corporate negotiations where cultural idiom and tone are critical.
Got it. You retreat to the high ground of complexity where the algorithms can't follow yet. Now, moving from text to visual, the documentation notes graphic design and web hosting. Graphic design is highlighted as having literally zero overhead costs once you own the design software.
You are taking abstract corporate identities and translating them into logos, pitch decks, and digital banners.
And web hosting seems incredibly powerful because it introduces the concept of recurring revenue. Every business on earth requires a website.
But very few small business owners understand how to manage a server, update security protocols, or maintain uptime. If you possess the technical acumen to handle the back-end architecture, you can lease server space and charge a monthly retainer. You become an invisible, essential utility for their business.
Wow. Okay, so all of those are service-based. You are fundamentally trading your time and specialized skills for an hourly rate or a project fee. But the framework spends a massive amount of time on e-commerce.
Specifically e-commerce that completely bypasses the nightmare of holding physical inventory.
Which brings us to the operational models of dropshipping and affiliate marketing.
Right. Dropshipping is heavily promoted as a low-risk entry point into global commerce, precisely because it severs the entrepreneur from the supply chain logistics.
Let's pop the hood on dropshipping. Mechanically, how does a transaction actually flow from the customer's click to the product arriving at their door?
Okay, so when a consumer lands on your digital storefront and purchases an item, your software automatically routes that order, along with the shipping details and the wholesale cost, directly to a third-party manufacturer or supplier, often located overseas.
Wait, so that third party does all the heavy lifting?
Solely responsible.
Yeah.
They warehouse the physical product, pick it off the shelf, package it, and ship it directly to your customer. You never leave the warehouse, you never print a shipping label, and crucially, you never purchase inventory upfront hoping it will sell.
You only pay for a product after you have already secured the customer's money.
It is the ultimate positive cash flow cycle. Platforms like Amazon and eBay are massive for this.
And affiliate marketing seems to follow a similar philosophy, but removes the customer service aspect entirely.
Affiliate marketing strips the transaction down to its purest form lead generation. You have almost zero startup costs because you don't even need an e-commerce platform.
You just need an audience.
Right. You utilize a blog, a newsletter, or a social media presence to cultivate an audience.
Hmm.
You then insert tracked, customized affiliate links pointing to products. When your reader clicks that link and finalizes a purchase on a site like Walmart, Target, or ClickBank, the retailer's software attributes that sale to you, and you are paid a percentage commission.
So the brands love it because it is purely performance-based marketing. They only pay you if a verified sale occurs.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to push back hard on the drop shipping model here.
Go for it.
If all I'm doing is setting up a Shopify store, running some Facebook ads, and passing an order to a manufacturer in Shenzhen, I hold no inventory, I don't design the product, I don't improve the product, aren't I essentially just a digital middleman fighting a race to the bottom on price?
A lot of people feel that way.
I mean, if literally anyone with a laptop can spin up a dropshipping store selling the exact same widget for $0, where is the actual tangible value created by the entrepreneur?
This raises an important question, and it highlights the exact trap that destroys 90% of novice dropshippers. They believe they are selling a physical product. They are not.
Then what are they selling?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the value is not in the widget. The value is entirely in curation and discovery.
Walk me through that. How is discovery a product?
The global supply chain produces millions of products every single day. The average consumer is drowning in noise and infinite choice. The true skill of a successful dropshipper lies in deep market analysis. They identify a micro-trend, a highly specific subculture, or an emerging pain point long before it hits the mainstream.
So they find the needle in the haystack.
They curate a selection of products that perfectly serve that niche, and they wrap those products in spectacular, highly targeted marketing that speaks the exact language of that subculture.
Ah, so the value you provide to the customer is cutting through the noise.
Precisely. You are finding something they didn't know existed, framing it in a way that resonates with their identity, and putting it directly in their social media feed. The physical product might be generic, but the psychological framing, the branding of the storefront, and the precision targeting of the ads, that is where the massive profit margins are unlocked.
You are never competing on price. You are competing on relevance and attention.
You're capitalizing on specific niche trends.
That reframes it completely. You aren't a manufacturer. You're a digital museum curator deciding what is worth looking at. So if we stick with the digital theme but move away from selling products entirely, the documentation explores an area it calls monetizing the mind.
The creator and knowledge economy.
Yeah. This is the purest manifestation of the skills and knowledge metric from our viability framework. You are taking your specialized, internalized expertise and synthesizing it into scalable digital assets.
Let's look at online courses.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry here is just structuring your knowledge and choosing a hosting platform.
And the unit economics of an online course are staggering.
They really are. If you possess a highly refined skill, whether that is advanced spreadsheet modeling, watercolor painting, audio engineering, or corporate leadership, there is a global market actively searching for that knowledge. By packaging it into video tutorials, downloadable templates, and ebooks, you detach your earning potential from your geographic location.
The capital required to film the course is minimal, but the leverage is infinite.
Which naturally leads to the broader creator economy, specifically social media influencers.
I think the general public has a deeply cynical, skewed view of this, though. They imagine a Hollywood celebrity just holding up a detox tea.
But the analysis breaks down the actual microeconomics of this world, and the numbers are intense. The specific data points provided in the sources are illuminating.
What are we talking about here?
An influencer operating on a platform with an audience between 100,000 and 1 million followers commands a minimum average of $185 per sponsored post, scaling up to an average maximum of $2,500 for a single post.
Up to $2,500 just to publish a photo or a short video.
Yes, and we must understand why the market dictates those rates. Unlike traditional celebrities whose audiences are broad and fragmented, a professional creator builds a hyper-specific following around a niche.
It might be ultralight backpacking or budget mechanical keyboards.
When a brand pays that $2,500, they're not buying broad awareness. They are buying direct, trusted access to a perfectly segmented demographic.
Yeah.
The creator has spent years building a parasocial relationship and establishing authority. The brand is essentially renting that trust.
But the medium that really stood out in the documentation was podcasting. The penetration statistics are almost hard to comprehend.
The scale is massive. The research indicates that nearly 180 million Americans are now active podcast listeners. That represents roughly 62% of the entire population.
62% of the country is regularly consuming on-demand audio.
And the depth of engagement is what matters most. Most of these listeners engage with an average of 8 different podcasts every single week. It has entirely subsumed the role of traditional talk radio.
From a strategic business perspective, why does audio hold so much power?
Because of the unparalleled intimacy of the medium. When someone listens to a podcast, the host's voice is literally inside their head, often for an hour or more, while they are commuting or working out. Businesses utilize this to build unshakable authority.
Right, so when a host reads a call to action, the conversion rates are astronomically higher than a text-based blog.
Because the listener feels a genuine connection to the speaker.
The framework also touches on visual creators, photography and videography. Yes, there is the traditional route of shooting weddings or corporate events, but the documentation highlights the creation of stock media as a scalable venture for royalties.
You anticipate the visual needs of the corporate world. You shoot high-quality generic footage of themes like office collaboration, and every time a marketing agency downloads your clip, you earn a royalty.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me.
Yeah.
When you look at the mechanics of creating an online course, or recording a 60-minute podcast, or shooting a massive library of stock video, you are fundamentally building a digital clone of your own brain.
A digital clone, like
That
that.
you suffer the friction and the labor once to record the module or capture the image, and then that digital asset is deployed onto a server. It goes out into the world and works for you. It teaches thousands of students simultaneously and earns for you while you are physically asleep. It is the ultimate hack for the scalability metric.
That is the exact definition of scalable leverage. You have successfully decoupled your time from your revenue generation.
But we have to acknowledge a reality here. Not everyone wants to sit behind a glowing rectangle all day. Not everyone is a digital native who wants to optimize SEO or build digital clones.
Sure.
For you, the listener right now, who wants to be out in the real world, who wants to sweat, who wants to see tangible, physical results at the end of the day, how do physical, local businesses score on our 10-point viability scale?
They score flawlessly on the single most critical metric we have, market demand. A perfect 10 out of 10.
Because you cannot outsource the repair of a leaking roof to a software program.
Exactly. You cannot digitize the physical cleaning of a commercial office space. And you certainly cannot drop ship a freshly mowed lawn. Local physical services possess a baseline level of intrinsic demand that is incredibly resilient against technological disruption.
Let's dive deep into this local landscape. The sweat equity businesses, the framework points to things like cleaning and landscaping.
These models excel because they require shockingly low initial setup costs. A cleaning business essentially requires professional-grade cleaning solutions, basic equipment, and reliable transportation. But because the barrier to entry is so low, the competition is fierce.
So your entire business model must revolve around unparalleled reliability to lock in recurring contracts.
Yes.
And the economics of landscaping.
Landscaping requires a slightly higher capital expenditure. Commercial mowers, trailers, leaf blowers. But the depreciation schedule on that equipment spans years. What is fascinating about landscaping is the clear path for upward mobility.
Right. You often begin with a highly commoditized mow and go route.
But as you build capital, you transition into high-margin landscape architecture. You begin designing complex outdoor living spaces, building wildlife areas. You move from a laborer to a contractor.
The documentation also highlights dog walking and personal training, capitalizing on the pet and wellness industries.
The pet industry is remarkably recession-proof. A dog walking business requires almost zero capital, just leashes, insurance, and physical stamina. But the strategy is route density.
Yeah.
You aren't driving across town for one dog. You're clustering clients in a specific neighborhood.
And personal training is similar, capitalizing on the wellness industry.
Right. It requires specialized certification to avoid liability, but you bypass gym overhead by training clients in their own homes or local parks.
Two models that really caught my attention were moving services and daycare. The friction points in these businesses are entirely different.
Moving services are built on sheer physical exertion and logistics. The underlying demand is driven by the fact that, statistically, businesses and individuals relocate every 4 to 7 years.
The capital requirements include leased box trucks and robust liability insurance.
It is an incredibly fast-paced, high-stress environment. Contrast that physical friction with daycare.
Right. Navigating the regulatory requirements of childproofing and certifications.
Daycare solves a massive pain point. But the true economic moat isn't the physical building, it's the licensing. The regulatory hurdles are so painfully high that they act as an artificial monopoly. Once you achieve compliance, you effectively lock out casual competitors.
Okay, moving beyond just offering a labor service, let's examine physical business models, brick and mortar versus mobile operations. The one that the framework highlighted that I found utterly brilliant in its mechanics was the laundromat.
The laundromat is a masterclass in elegant business design. Think about inventory. A traditional store has thousands of dollars tied up in physical stock. A laundromat sells access to utility. There is no physical, unused stock to spoil. Second, the cash flow is pristine because the customer pays up front.
But the most brilliant part is the labor model, right?
Precisely. The customer provides the vast majority of the physical labor. They sort the clothes, they load the machines, they fold them. You are merely providing the infrastructure.
You're renting out heavy machinery by the hour.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the food industry, because opening a traditional restaurant is notoriously one of the most statistically dangerous things an entrepreneur can do.
This is why the framework strongly advocates for the food truck or catering model. A fully equipped food truck typically costs less than a third to open compared to a permanent brick-and-mortar kitchen.
And it solves the location problem. You park near dense office buildings for lunch and relocate to a music festival at night.
Catering operates on a similar risk reduction principle. You prep on-site or off-site, and you know exactly how many people you are feeding before you buy the ingredients.
The documentation also spends time on ice cream shops and coffee shops.
Both of these focus heavily on community and seasonal menus. The success of an independent coffee shop hinges on becoming a third place between home and work.
And if an entrepreneur is positioned in a destination area, the framework suggests bed and breakfasts.
Leveraging an underutilized asset extra room in a property via Airbnb or Booking.com.
Okay, I have a fundamental mechanical question about these local businesses. For something like a dog walking or moving business, how does someone scale that? You only have two hands. Doesn't this violate our scalability metric, which is a 6 out of 10 on importance?
That is the ultimate bottleneck, and overcoming that bottleneck is why the transition from operator to manager is the single most critical phase.
How does that transition actually happen?
You scale by building a local brand, acquiring standard equipment that lasts for years, and eventually hiring fleets. You document every single one of your processes. Once those processes are codified, you hire workers to execute them. You move from a solo hustle to an agency model.
I love that framing. You stop being the baker, sweating over the oven, and you become the owner of the bakery. Now, what if an entrepreneur enters the arena with highly developed specific credentials? The framework suggests that if you have specific skills, you completely bypass general competition entirely.
You fulfill that skills and knowledge requirements metric perfectly because you have an intellectual moat.
A prime example from the documentation is the tax return preparer.
Requires a CPA and a preparer tax identification number from the IRS, but boasts minimal expenses and high profitability.
Another highly specialized sector the framework details is property management.
Managing daily operations, collecting rent. The sources note an average startup price tag of $19,267.
That's a significantly higher startup cost than a freelance writing gig.
It is, but it acts as a filter, keeping casual competitors out. You are solving a massive pain point for clients.
Sticking within that real estate ecosystem, there's also real estate and consulting.
Flipping properties requiring patience to hold for appreciation, and B2B strategy or HR consulting.
The documentation also dives into creative retail and crafts.
Ventures like a specialty cake baker starting in a home kitchen, interior design, florists capitalizing on floral trends and roadshows,
Bookstores and gift stores.
and t-shirt printing, using third-party print providers to keep costs low.
Now, every model we have discussed requires the entrepreneur to conjure a brand out of thin air, but there is a completely different paradigm detailed in the documentation, the franchise route.
Buying into a successful pre-existing business model, the requirement to pay initial fees, marketing fees, and royalties.
Okay, I have to push back on this concept. Buying a franchise seems to totally contradict the primary motivation for starting a business, to be your own boss. You have to follow the franchisor's exact rules. Why do this?
This raises an important question. You are sacrificing nearly all of your creative control, yes, but you are making a highly calculated trade-off. You are trading ultimate creative freedom for a drastically lower failure rate. and a pre-built blueprint.
So it's for the entrepreneur who wants financial independence more than creative control.
Precisely.
Now, whether the listener is starting a digital marketing firm, a landscaping business, or a food truck, there is a massive new variable impacting the entire methodology: artificial intelligence, the AI revolution in small business operations.
AI has fundamentally altered the operational physics of what a solo founder can accomplish.
Let's break down the deep dive the framework does into AI integration. What are the pros?
The most immediate benefit is efficiency in automation data entry, bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Then there's advanced data analysis, trend spotting previously reserved for large corporations.
It also mentions personalization and massive scalability, like 247 chatbots.
Yes. But the framework explicitly details the significant cons and risks, high initial setup costs, and dependency vulnerability during system failures.
There's also the steep learning curve and data privacy concerns.
Exactly. Security vulnerabilities from hackers and the unpredictable outcomes of deep learning algorithms.
I think of it like this. Integrating AI into a small business is exactly like hiring a genius super intern who never sleeps, but who occasionally hallucinates facts and needs to be strictly supervised so they don't leak customer data.
That analogy captures the dynamic perfectly. The supervision is non-negotiable. AI is the ultimate leveler of the playing field, allowing a solo founder to have the operational capacity of a 10-person team, provided they maintain a human touch and adhere to ethical standards.
Okay, having explored the frameworks, the specific business models, and the AI tools, the ultimate question is, how does the learner listening right now actually pull the trigger and start?
The documentation provides a rigorous, sequential, step-by-step launch process. Step 1 is assess and research. Aligning skills, experience, and passion with market needs to find a profitable niche.
And step 2 is testing the idea.
The crucial step of verifying demand before spending money.
Step 3 is write the business plan,
Establishing technical, economic, and financial feasibility.
which leads to step 4, finding financing.
Navigating funding without multi-year business histories. Exploring microloans, crowdfunding, and small business administration grants, and the absolute necessity of keeping business and personal finances separate.
Finally, step 5, legal protection.
Guaranteeing ownership through patents, trademarks, copyrights, and intellectual property rights.
So what does this all mean?
A successful